Well, it's not just the eastern seaboard that's ravaged by drought. Today, reports that Denmark in WA is almost out of water, with the state government about to truck it in. And the Netherlands, where some MPs want to see livestock herds reduced so that methane gas is reduced, which is reducing emissions, which is climate change. I told you to come to this, and here we go. Plus, a number of independent schools say they can't support the government's religious freedom bill. What's their cause for complaint? Well, let's get into it all now with my panel. Macquarie radio broadcaster Jane Marwick and opinion editor at the Daily Telegraph, James Morrow. I'm going to start, though, James, on the issue of a Chinese flag flapping away yesterday on top of a police station in Australia. So the police stayed on top of a police station. How'd that happen?
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story here. I think a lot of people are wondering, if we're going to be flying the Chinese flag off our police station, shouldn't we first fly the white flag first? I mean, really, it's offended an awful lot of people here. It was for the 70th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party's revolution in China, which of course was celebrated such as it was in Beijing. We saw all of the footage of Xi Jinping reviewing the troops and so on. But they had a celebration, apparently, at this cop shop in Box Hill to say, oh, how good are our relations with the local Chinese community. To me, this seems really problematic. I mean, put aside the fact that the Chinese communist regime there is a pretty repressive outfit that's, putting Uyghurs in concentration camps and doing all sorts of terrible stuff in Hong Kong and so on and so forth. It also suggests that there's no idea that they have that, a lot of Chinese Australians themselves are pretty offended by the activities of the Chinese government and don't want to see any sort of, legitimization of that behavior. So I just think it was just really, really tone-deaf, bizarre, and I don't know what they were thinking. I've always known Victoria had some left-wing tendencies, but my God.
Well, this is with the police. I mean, Jane, you've been to some of the rallies in WA and you've spoken to people who are so concerned that they might be picked up by Chinese authorities in vision relayed home, that they're covering their faces when they're fighting for the democracy protesters in Hong Kong. You can bet your bottom dollar that that image will be used as propaganda overseas, pushed out to places like Hong Kong to say, look, the rest of the world's with us, not with you.
Absolutely. And James is right when he talks about the Chinese Australians who live here. And, I've been really disappointed in some politicians when we talk about this debate and they say, there are so many Chinese Australians who live here. Yeah, there are. There are a lot who live here in preference to China for the very reason that that regime is oppressive. It sends the wrong message to them. I think the police who hoisted that flag had the very best of intentions, but this is where all this PC diversity inclusion nonsense leads to, because they are trying to include their local community, thinking that they're doing the right thing. I think the gesture was probably noble, but the outcome is really, really shocking to many Chinese Australians and to the rest of us who think this is the flag of a repressive communist regime being hoisted at a police station. Think about the message that's sending, a police station in Australia.
As I said before, it's confusing a cultural symbolism, which is, we're working well with our local community who are of Chinese origin, many of them in the Box Hill area, as opposed to an official sanctioned flag, which is a wholly and solely different thing.